next, it's a lightweight bout between Edson Barboza and Kevin Lee.
Hey guys, my name's Connor from the UK Game Bureau, and welcome to our EA Sports UFC 3 simulation and prediction of Edson Barboza versus Kevin Lee. So we're going to start this off by looking at Edson Barboza's record. He's coming into this fight with a record of 19 wins, 5 losses, and he is 3-1 in his last 4 fights. His last fight was a decision to loss to Khabib Nurmagomedov at UFC 219 in December of last year, and he was just absolutely destroyed by Khabib. Khabib was able to just take him down repeatedly, and once he took him down, Edson just wasn't able to get back up. Khabib was just hitting him with ground and pound. He was doing quite well on the feet as well, due to the pressure that he had, and obviously the threat of a takedown. Before that, Edson Barboza was on a 3-fight win streak. He had a decision win against Anthony Pettis, a former champion. He had a decision win against Gilbert Melendez. And he had a knockout win over Beneil Dariush by flying knee. He also has notable wins over Paul Felder, Bobby Green, Evan Dunham, and of course his spin kick knockout of Terry Etim. So Edson Barboza, if you don't already know, is one of the greatest strikers in the UFC lightweight division, arguably in the whole UFC. He has some of the most vicious leg kicks that you'll ever see. His Muay Thai is very solid, and he also has these tricks in his arsenal, like the spin kick he knocked out Terry Etim with, and he truly can knock you out of anything. Just look at the knockout of Beneil Dariush. Dariush was going in for a takedown, Barboza just jumped up and hit him with a perfectly timed flying knee. Of course, Kevin Lee being a wrestler and someone who will be shooting in for singles and doubles, that is something that he will need to look out for, that big flying knee, or possibly an uppercut, just anything as he's coming in. Barboza does have good boxing as well, but he is more known for his kicks, whether it be his body kicks or whether it be his leg kicks. The amount of power and speed he has on his kicks is actually ridiculous. He is one of the fastest lightweights there is, especially with his legs. He has the power in his kicks that after 2 or 3 leg kicks you could already be limping. In that sense, he's very comparable to Jose Aldo back when he was in WEC. In that after a few leg kicks you're going to be limping and you're going to be worried about those leg kicks coming again. You're going to have to be checking them, which of course then opens up other things like his switch kick, like his body kick. So with all that in mind, let's now have a look at Kevin Lee's record. Kevin Lee is coming into this fight with a record of 16 wins, 3 losses, and is 5-1 in his last 6 fights. His last fight was a loss against Tony Ferguson for the interim UFC title at UFC 216 back in October of last year. Now Kevin Lee actually started off very well in that first round. The first round was all him. I believe he hurt Tony a bit on the feet. He was able to get a takedown, fully mounted Tony completely past his guard, which was very surprising to me, and started landing some vicious ground and pound. And for a few moments it looked like it could have possibly been stopped in that first round. But then he gassed out. He did actually have staph infection in that fight, so his cardio wasn't up to where it should have been, and he was eventually choked out in the 3rd round by a triangle choke. Before that, he had a TKO win over Jake Matthews, and then he had 3 rear naked choke submissions in a row over Magomed Mustafa, Francisco Trinaldo, and Michael Chiesa. There was a bit of controversy in the Michael Chiesa fight in that Chiesa never tapped, but it did look like he went out. But he did have a solid rear naked choke in on Michael Chiesa. Now Kevin Lee is very much the opposite to Barboza in terms of the fighter. He is a pure grappling heavy fighter. He's got great wrestling, he's got great double legs, he's got great single legs, and he's got good jiu-jitsu as well. He's especially very good at taking people's back and getting in a rear naked choke. In fact, I don't believe that anyone in the UFC, once Kevin Lee has had their back, they haven't been choked out, which is a very impressive stat. Kevin Lee does win a lot of his fights by submission or by decision, but he does have a few TKOs as well, with the most notable one being over Jake Matthews, who is a very solid prospect in the welterweight division. So now we got to look at how they match up. Obviously, when you look at it on paper, it's a very striker versus grappler fight, but then you look more into it and Edson Barboza does have good jiu-jitsu, and Kevin Lee's stand-up is quite underrated as well. This fight to me is going to be one on whoever dictates the pace. If Edson Barboza is the one there controlling where the fight is, he's getting off his leg kicks, he's the one pressuring Kevin Lee, I think Kevin Lee will wilt eventually and Edson Barboza will be able to finish him. But at the same time, if Kevin Lee gets right into his face straight away, starts making Barboza fight on the back foot, and then he starts throwing in his wrestling as well, I think Kevin Lee will win this fight. Skill-wise, even though they're completely different, I'd say they are on the same level as an overall mixed martial artist. Now Kevin Lee's grappling is not on the same level as Khabib's, but I would say in pure wrestling, Kevin Lee does actually have a better wrestling base. And when you see what Khabib was able to do to Edson Barboza, I have no doubt that Kevin Lee can implement a similar game plan. It's also worth noting that Edson Barboza wasn't able to do too much on the feet against Khabib Nurmagomedov, not only because of a takedown threat from Khabib, but also because Khabib was marching right forward with his hands up and he was pressuring him straight away. And Edson Barboza, primarily, he likes a lot of space, he likes a lot of time, he doesn't like it if he's one getting pressured, he doesn't like if he's having to fight on the back foot, and that's exactly what Kevin Lee needs to utilise in this fight. Even though in pure striking he's at a disadvantage, he needs to be confident enough to be going forward towards Edson Barboza and be the one initiating these exchanges. Edson Barboza needs to do a similar thing as well. He can't allow himself to get pressured. He needs to hurt Kevin and hurt him early. He needs to make him think about shooting in. If I were him, I'd be going for a lot of body shots to try and slow him down as well. I'd be going for those leg kicks early as well. Because if you get kicked in the leg and your leg is all battered up, you're not going to be able to shoot in for takedowns as well. Your grappling is then going to be at a disadvantage because of what's happened on the feet. Kevin Lee's cardio is also a bit untested. Obviously, he gassed out the Tony Ferguson fight, but he did have a staph infection. His only other 5-round fight was finished in the first round, so his cardio really hasn't been tested. Whereas with Barboza, we know he can go full 5 if he needs to. It would also help for Barboza if he's able to stuff a few early takedowns, which he's more than capable of doing. He trains with people such as Frankie Edgar and Eddie Alvarez, who are very good wrestlers in their own right. So if he can stuff a few early takedowns, he can get some good leg kicks off. If he can keep mixing up his kicks, some to the head, some to the body, some to the leg, and keep Kevin Lee guessing and make him second guess himself, that's what's going to win Edson Barboza this fight. So prediction time. When I look at who I think is going to win a fight, I look at who has more ways to win, who's going to control more areas of a fight. When it comes to striking, if they're in a neutral position or Edson's the one advancing, Kevin Lee can't really do too much and Edson will be in complete control of that. But everywhere else I feel like Kevin has a slight advantage. If they're wrestling, Kevin's got the advantage. If they're on top, Kevin's got the advantage. I can't really see Barboza getting on top of Kevin. That would be a very interesting dynamic. But with the wrestling he has and Edson Barboza not having the greatest jiu-jitsu game, I feel like Kevin Lee would be able to escape that and it'd be relatively harm-free. I really feel like the Khabib fight showed the way to beat Edson Barboza. And of course Khabib himself is an elite grappler, arguably one of the best grapplers of the whole UFC, especially in the lightweight division. But it wasn't so much what he did on the ground as what he did on the feet. He was able to completely nullify any real offense from Edson Barboza just by walking forward and pressuring him. Edson did land a few good shots. He landed a big body kick earlier on, which Khabib just walked through. He did actually land a spinning back kick, which Khabib just walked through in the third round as well. If Kevin Lee is willing to walk forward and maybe take a few shots, to give a few shots, and he's the one pressuring, he's cutting off the cage, he's not letting Barboza fight his game, I think he's got a real advantage here, and that is why I'm going to pick him to win this fight. I'm going to pick a Kevin Lee 4th round rear naked choke win. As I mentioned, I just feel like the pressure will be too much. He'll be able to have his way on the feet, even against a better striker. And then I think in the 3rd and 4th rounds, there's going to be a lot more grappling involved. And if Kevin Lee is grappling purely with Edson Barboza, I feel like it's only a matter of time until he eventually gets his back and gets in that rear naked choke. So again, I'm going to go with a Kevin Lee 4th round rear naked choke. So on our EA Sports UFC 3 simulation of Edson Barboza versus Kevin Lee, it predicted a Kevin Lee submission at 5 minutes of the 2nd round due to armbar. And if you're planning on watching this fight, let us know in the comments down below, either on YouTube, Facebook or Twitter, and let us know your prediction and we can see if anyone gets it right after the fight. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button down below, and as always, to see more videos coming soon, please subscribe to the channel.